Hello, welcome back to Commaful Vibe Times with Brighton Hugg. This is the third episode. I wanted to release this a couple days ago, but yeah, I got kind of busy, stuff kind of stacked up. That is why today, right now, I am filming 4 videos in a row, because I won't release them all today. Like, you'll see this one today, and then the next one tomorrow, and the next one after that, just to space it out. But I'm gonna get them all filmed today, or not all, 4 filmed today, so that I can start posting daily, which is awesome. I'm excited for that. I'm only gonna read 5 posts per video. That way it's easier for you guys to make it all the way to the end, and it's just easier to digest, I guess, because right now the average view duration is like 4 or 5 minutes. So I'm thinking if the video is shorter, then people are like, yo, I'm halfway there, I might as well keep on going. Hopefully. Also, stay until the end, because I have some important announcements to make, which I'm really excited about. So, to start off, we have Little Flower by Q Imagine. Little Flower. Little flower, little flower. Don't you know? Your rise is destined, since you're rooted in the soul. You're only known to rise once you see the heavens cry, and you witness the golden sun as its rays shower you with love. Little flower, learn to love the storm. The tears are of the sky, and they only aid your form. They only aid your rise, so dazzle your beauty to the sky, and then share the golden rays of the little flower coming of age. You only rise. Wow, I like that. To me, it has a message of keep on going, keep on pushing through. Yeah, it's amazing. Like, in life, we come across so many storms, but we just have to keep on pushing through, because those storms, they make us change, they make us develop as a human being to become something better than we were. So this is very learning. So, the next story, A Glimpse into the Life of a Kleptomaniac by Salam Oseni. I hope I pronounced that right. Do you ever wonder what goes on in the heads of kleptomaniacs? Well, a glimpse into the life of a kleptomaniac. Body itching, teeth gritting. I've got to have it. Can't stop sharing. Trying to wave off the urge. It goes and comes back almost immediately. This time it hits harder. Tampon in hand, pain gone, the aura of fulfillment all around. I feel so at ease. Now reflecting, never really needing the tampon. Cause for starters, I'm a guy, and I don't have any woman in my life. But then there's this inner peace that has come with it. No, there's a big difference between kleptomania and conventional stealing. Kleptomania is a type of obsessive-compulsive disorder. People suffering from this condition don't take items because they need them. They do so because they feel the item will fill a certain void in them, which is usually caused by suppressed anxiety or depression. Yeah, I think this is a really good take on kleptomania. I've read a lot about it because it's in my psychology textbook and I have no choice but to read about it. It's very interesting. Basically what happens is people, they feel compelled to steal something. They might have these urges for a long time, but sometimes it's just immediate. They walk in and they're like, I have to steal something completely useless. Sometimes it's the same thing over and over again. And once they steal it, they feel released. They're like, wow, this is a nice feeling. But then soon afterwards, they start feeling guilt because of what they've done. And it's complex and it's interesting. This next post is by In, who is also really amazing. I love their work. The prologue of my new book, which I will be updating on Wattpad. A young adult book that deals with themes such as loss, regret, grief, and learning to live again. When we're wild at heart. Some people look for miracles and find wildfires. Others spend their whole life searching for a purpose and find that their flames burn too hot to handle. I guess Oscar Wilde said it best when he wrote, "To live is the rarest thing in the world." We're all trying to find that one thing, that one moment where your heart is pumping and you're scared that it might muscle its way out of your ribs and your hands are sweating enough to leave patches on your legs, and then that's when you know. There's a reason for all this. There must be. I've been searching for it ever since the world screwed me over and kicked me to the ground. If Sylvia Plath was right when she wrote "Dying is an art," then Aurora Hart must be the new Monet. If living was easy, she'd burn the world out with her wildfires. To live is the rarest thing in the world, and Rory, as she often shortened her name to, was my muse. Maybe I gained more, or I lost all I ever knew. Maybe the boy who wanted to die was helped by the girl who was desperate to live. Because we both know grief like a second skin, her even more so. So Aurora Hart, 17-year-old Rory with the wild eyes and creeping grins and the cleft in her chin from 10 years ago. When we both cycled down a rocky path near her aunt's backyard and she lost balance. She held my hand the whole way back, turned her face away so I wouldn't see her glassy eyes, gripped onto my hand until her fingernails dug deep into my skin. Because Aurora's heart never cries. The prologue of my new book, which I will be updating on Wattpad, a young adult book which already read this. Wow, that is an amazing start of the blurb. Are you afraid of dying? I'm afraid of living with my eyes closed. It's the summer after Noah Grayson's twin sister, Birdie, dies, and he's written enough poems about death and grief to make Byron turn in his grave and shudder. But learning to live again isn't easy when all you want is for the ground to open its mouth and swallow you whole. Then entered Aurora Hart, Rory for short. Feisty, foxy, and fucked up. Who dragged herself from the brink of death her whole teenage life. Who had become used to being called suicidal on a daily basis. Who took any chance to stay away from her own house. Who never really started living until she met her late best friend's brother, and they both embarked to complete Birdie's bucket list before they turn 18. It's a tale of dying and surviving, of drunk words, sober thoughts, and of a wildfire who can't be tamed. Wow, that is a very compelling blurb. I love the way this starts. I'm intrigued. If you ever publish this, like, on Amazon or as a paperback, you should tell me. I will most likely buy it, hopefully, because I think something with this strong of a start, I can tell that this will be good. Especially because the mentions of famous writers, you can tell that this person reads a lot, and that's important for writing. Because the more you read, the better you get. You don't just have to write, you should also read, which is why I also love reading, but I don't do it enough, which is unfortunate. I've got to work on that. This next post is by Hamari, 11, based on The Little Prince. Yeah, I've heard of that book. I've heard it's really good. Oh, Rose, how I love you. You were beautiful. It was just us two alone, somewhere far away. I missed you dearly. I left of curiosity and the unknown, but to only find that you left me. No rose can replace you, no matter how much they remind me of you. You cannot be replaced. I'm sorry for leaving you in that world where we met, and gaze into the stars, reminding me of you. Oh, how I feel saddened. But now I come to peace, and I thank you for that. It's very simple. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly, Little Prince. Wow, I enjoyed that. I love the images in the background. Maybe it's because I want to pet that fox. It looks cute. I like foxes. They're amazing. Yeah, I love the ending. The ending is so strong. Really well written. I commend you. Next is by Mr. Bush, and this is their first story on here. A silly story about silly people. The moderately entertaining adventures of Mr. Bush and Mr. Fern. And sometimes a raccoon. Must be read in a British accent. I'm really bad with accents, so I apologize beforehand. I just watched a 3-minute video of how to have a proper British accent, and the dude did it so well, and when I copied what he was doing, it sounds absolutely terrible, so my apologies. Mr. Bush was quite a silly man indeed. He wore red boxer shorts with ants on them. Not pictures of ants, actual ants that were 2 sizes too big. He wore a trench coat and a shirt with dead rats on it. Pictures this time, of course. He wore 2 monocles, over which he wore bifocals with missing lenses. His face was decorated by a bushy grey handlebar mustache. He wore on his head a purple top hat to cover his most embarrassing feature, beautiful, thick black hair. His best friend was also silly. Mr. Fern was gay. Yes, he was very happy, which is what gay means. He was also homosexual. Mr. Bush loved his friend platonically, and Mr. Fern loved his friend romantically. The raccoon loved them both. They did not love the raccoon. Mr. Bush was tall and skinny, and Mr. Fern was short and round. They often had adventures together. Not the raccoon, he was socially awkward. Mr. Bush remembered their first adventure quite vividly. It had been January 45th of 4080. Back then, things were much sillier. Penguins were on the rise, and would likely take over the world soon. Squirrels talked, and the almighty immortal Abraham Lincoln had been absent from his throne of fossilized Kool-Aid for hundreds of years. Mr. Bush's first meeting with Mr. Fern was at Hoover Dam. He had gone there to see its majestic, beautiful crater filled with bees. As he strolled down the concrete structure and stared at the many insects below, mesmerized by the cacophony of buzzing, he hadn't noticed Mr. Fern power walking directly toward him. The immense power of power walking caused a tremendous collision with a deafening skabeam as both men fell, or rather, man-children, fell onto their rumps. "Ouch!" exclaimed Mr. Bush. "What was that?" "I was power walking," replied Mr. Fern. "Ah yes, that makes sense. Did you know you've got ants on your boxer shorts?" "Yes, of course. I also know that I've got thick, beautiful black hair." "How embarrassing. Did you know that I'm gay?" "Yes, you are quite happy, which is what gay means." "Did you also know that I am heterosexual?" "No, I did not. I sort of expected you to say homosexual for some reason." "Do you think I should be homosexual?" "Yeah, me too. I guess I'm homosexual now." Suddenly, a large crack invaded their conversation, followed by a rumble and a quake. "Mr. Fern," said Mr. Bush, "what was that noise?" Mr. Fern thought for a moment, and then said, "Our tremendous power-walking collision earlier must have damaged the dam." "But how did you know my name?" "Because I've been following along with the story, haven't you? It addresses us both by name." "Oh, okay. But isn't that breaking the fourth wall?" "I suppose so. I won't do it anymore. Would you look over the edge and assess the damage?" "Yeah, sure." He walked over to the edge and peered over the side. His worst fears were confirmed. There was an enormous crack in the side of the dam. Honeybees, bumblebees, and even a wasp were spilling out at an alarming rate. "There's a crack in the dam wall," exclaimed Mr. Fern. "Mr. Fern, this is a family-oriented story for mature children or immature adults," replied Mr. Bush. "I know, I meant the..." "Oh, forget it. And didn't we talk about breaking the fourth wall?" Yes. Let's just fix this crack, shall we? I've got some uber glue. So Mr. Bush called in uber and turned into glue. Immediately, as their uber glue guns were loaded, they aimed at the crack. They focused, aligned their shots, breathed in, and were slapped unconscious by penguins. Mr. Fern awoke dangling from the low ceiling of a dark cave in his trousers. How unfortunate, he remarked as he slowly regained coherence, or at least as much coherence as he could have. He suddenly became aware of a low woonk 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 coming from nearby. The noise grew louder, and an enormous, menacing shadow formed on the sloped wall of the nearest Mr. Fern. It seemed a horrifying beast was coming to end him. Just as he said his final prayers to Abraham Lincoln, two penguins walked around the corner. "Woonk woonk," called the one on the right, which was named Lefty. "Woonk woonk woonk," replied the one on the left, who was named Righty. They were conjoined at the eyeball. The one on the right was always called Lefty, and the one on the left was always called Righty. Their mother was cross-eyed. She was also stupid. Mr. Fern looked around and realized something was missing. "What have you done with Mr. Bush?" he inquired. "Woonk woonk," replied Lefty sinisterly. "You've put him where?" "Woonk woonk." "Bring him here." Righty pulled a lever. A pulley made of licorice began to turn, and Mr. Bush was pulled out of a hole in the wall, hung by his trench coat, and reading a newspaper. "Oh, hello, Mr. Fern," he exclaimed cheerily. "Have you met Lefty and Righty? They're very nice." "But they kidnapped us," replied Mr. Fern. "Well, yes, they did do that. They planned to take over the world." "Well, yes, but look, they gave me a newspaper." "Oh, well then, they are nice." "Wug, wug, wug, wug!" interrupted Lefty. "You want to have what?" cried Mr. Bush. "A tickle fight to the death?" Mr. Fern grasped, then smiled. He was the ultimate tickling champion. Righty interrupted and started telling his evil backstory. "Woonk, woonk, 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 woonk. Woonk, 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 woonk. Woonk, woonk, woonk. Woonk, 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 woonk. Woonk, woonk. He broke into tears as Mr. Fern replied, "That's tragic. But how did the South Pole melt? Humanity stopped global warming over 1,000 years ago." Lefty and Righty walked over to Mr. Bush, took his newspaper, and showed Mr. Fern the headline. "Arsonist sets fire to entire South Pole with a ferret, 3 tin cans, a taco stand, and a schizophrenic moose." "Woonk woonk," said Lefty. "Yes, I know that's not how you spell schizophrenic. I was thinking that. I was gonna mention that, but I didn't," said the very good-looking author of this story. "But it's the best I could spell. It's very close. You just And you people seriously need to stop breaking the... What is this? The 5th wall? You've broken the ceiling! Or the floor, I suppose. The extraordinarily attractive author is right, yelled Mr. Fern. There should be a solid, unwavering wall between author, audience, and character, no matter what the incredibly handsome author or audience says. The character should not react. "Whoa," said Righty, who was now Lefty because former Lefty had turned around in contempt in agreement. To test that theory, the very dashing author said, "Hey Lefty, you stink!" Lefty winked in anger, karate chopped his eyeball off of Righty's, walked off the page, slapped the enormously humble author with the greased herring, and got a job as a used schizophrenic moose salesman. Oh no, it's spelled right. Ouch, said the extremely intelligent author. Well, I'm gonna go fix those walls you broke. Please try not to break them again. No promises, replied Mr. Bush. All right, where were we? Asked Mr. Fern, whose wedgie from hanging on the ceiling was getting increasingly worse. Wunk wunk, replied Lefty, who was now Refty because he had both a right and a left side. Oh, right. Death tickles. How silly, said Mr. Bush. But then again, so am I. It was then that he remembered that, in a bet made 100 years ago, if he won a tickle fight to the death, the raccoon owed him 5,000 pickled baby doll heads. Imagine what he could do with that. Let's start this fight, he said eagerly. They took their spots on the circular tickle barrel. Mr. Bush eyed Refty. Refty glared at Mr. Fern. Mr. Fern was blinded by a stuffed schizophrenic moose head to make the fight fair. Gazes circled the room. The referee, Refty's cross-eyed stupid mother, counted down from 3. Wunk, wunk, wunk. The fight began. Mr. Bush ran straight for Refty and lunged right on him. Mr. Fern, in his blindness, walked out of bounds, sat on the ground, began tickling a rock, and was disqualified immediately. Mr. Bush assaulted Refty with every sort of tickling technique. The pit of despair, the feather buster, the toe tingler, and even the 5-fingered frenzy of death. To Mr. Bush's surprise, Refty did not tickle back, but pulled out of his beak a pickle and began to beat Mr. Bush senseless. He relentlessly struck Mr. Bush with the briny green stick, giving bruise after bruise after bruise. Just when it seemed his doom was inevitable, going to be in the hands of this penguin, a low rumble and then an enormous crash filled the cavern with rubble and noise. Still, the horrid beating continued. Not until a miraculous figure, stepping out of the clearing dust from the hole in the wall in slow motion, appeared did Refty look up and wunk in terror. The dust settled. This mysterious hero was the raccoon. He had come to save them. He rushed with malice towards the dumbfounded penguin and lunged onto his face. What ensued was extremely violent and will not be described. However, all made it out alive. The raccoon, puzzled but excited in the chaos, asked, "What happened here?" in an ambiguously European but vaguely Scottish accent. Mr. Bush recounted the events with the penguins, directly quoting every single wunk. "What do you mean, pickle fight to the death? He said pickle fight for the meth, you bumbling idiot. He thought you were dealing drugs, what with your trench coat and all," reported the raccoon after the story was told. "And you guys are really bad at speaking penguin." "All right, but how did you know to save us?" inquired Mr. Fern, who had come over from the rock in the corner and taken off the moose head. "Well," he began as he flashed back to 15 minutes ago. Wow. Okay, so this is the maximum words, so follow me if you want more. If you want more, stay tuned for the next video. This is a thrilling adventure. It's hilarious. It's amazing. It's read in a perfect accent. So make sure you stay tuned for the next video, which is hopefully coming out tomorrow, so that you can continue listening to this beautiful story. I am so excited to see what happens next. Oh, it's so well written. I love it. So, to close off this video, I have chosen my most popular poem called Dying Star. Pretty girls have it hard. Stay strong. dying star. Perfect body, stunning eyes. Looks alive, but dead inside. Abused, bemused, used and broken. Silenced, troubles stay unspoken. Once bright eyes that now have darkened. Devils, demons, bad boys hearken. Innocence that has been stolen. Troubles, pain, the list keeps rolling. Hidden from the world of love. Cursed by your gift from above. Good men too shy to speak to you. Bad guys the only ones you knew. They lust, they lie, don't empathize. They hurt you, don't apologize. They don't love you for who you are. Once bright, but now a dying star. So, this is the end of the video. Tell me what you think. As for my important announcement that I mentioned at the beginning, I would like to do a video on how to gain exposure for your writing using Commaful. It'll be marketed towards anyone who writes, mostly poetry and short fiction, not specifically written for people on Commaful. And the goal is, I know that how-to videos are popular search terms, and so is how to gain exposure for your writing. So I believe that this will not only help my channel be more recognized by the YouTube algorithm, it will also hopefully help new members join Commaful, depending on how well this video does. I want to get it professionally edited by my brother. He's pretty professional, so it's not like super professional, it's a hobby for him, but he's really good at it. And I want it to be a 10-minute video full of 10 minutes of solid advice. It's basically my secret of how I got 9,000 followers. And what I learned along the way, because I found out that the way I started Commaful was not the way I should have. If someone showed me the video that I'm about to film when I first joined Commaful, I wouldn't have quit after the first story and only came back after I was emailed asking why I left Commaful. And I am so glad that I came back, because Commaful truly changed my life. If you don't have an account, I would highly suggest creating an account and looking at the amazing content on Commaful. Maybe comment on the things showed in these videos, on the posts showed, which the link is in the description, click them, or redo stuff. One last thing, as you can see on my account, the bio is a link. It is for my fundraiser for Commaful. Here's all the information about it. It's a registered charitable organization that has over 40 years of experience in developing programs that respond to community needs and support youth development. Its mission is to blah, blah, blah. It is very amazing. I love what they're doing, and I will be participating in the Commaful challenge, which is 5.5 months of living in a random city in a house with 10 people I have never met before, volunteering for 30 hours a week. So one of my requirements is to raise $500. But 500, I feel like I can do better than that, which is why my next goal is $800. I have been so impressed by how generous everyone has been so far to get me to $600. That is eye-boggling. Even if you just donate $5, I will be so happy. Even $3, which is the minimum. I would be happy with $1, but CanadaHelps.org does not allow this. The way this fundraiser works is that when you donate this page, the money is directly forwarded to Commaful. So you don't have to worry. I am not a corrupt individual. No money will go towards me. But every time someone donates, I can't describe how happy it makes me feel, because it shows that they care about the things I care about. And the generosity that I have seen, it really brings back my faith in the world. I am so proud of everyone who donated. You truly changed my life, and you are the reason that my life is how amazing it is today. I love you guys so much. So thank you for that. And if you haven't donated, don't feel obliged to do so, only if you can and if you have the means. So, that's the end of this video. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Stay tuned.